Hi guys, Alex here, and welcome to a new series that I am doing on my channel. Basically, I'll be giving a rough review of the Dragon Ball Z Kai episodes, and then I'm going to be comparing it to Z. And you don't actually realise how much filler Z has until you watch it. Obviously, if you've been following Dragon Ball for a while, you'll know that there is so much filler because the anime actually caught up with the manga pretty damn fast. So obviously they had to add a few things here and there just to like make the series a bit longer, you know, just basically what they did was prolonged a few events just so that the so that the manga could catch up. But I have no idea how I'm going to be comparing some of the episodes of Kai with some of the episodes of Z later on, just simply because like the difference in like episode like pacing is ridiculous between the two. But I'll see what I can do. But the first episode is actually relatively the same. So I'm just going to give a brief summary of what happens in Kai. They both start completely differently, okay? So Kai starts with Bardock calling Frieza out. Frieza destroys the planet. Bardock has a vision of Goku fighting Frieza. And we can actually see Goku going to Earth. We see him growing up. And then the announcer explains how Goku was found. Goes through all of Goku's adventures that happened in Dragon Ball. So how he met Bulma, took on Pilaf. And it covers the majority of the Budokai. So those are the tournaments, obviously. And it shows it ended with Goku marrying Bulma, okay? So after that, it basically goes on to say that there's a new enemy coming, and then obviously you see Raditz Saiyan pod going towards Earth. So then you have the whole like, okay, this was what's happening, you know, the title screen, and then we see Goku punching a tree down and taking it back home. Chi-Chi then tells Goku to look for Gohan. And this is the whole sequence where Gohan is talking to the bird, and he falls in the water, and Goku has to save him, which he obviously does. And then directly after this, we see Raditz arrive on Earth, and he has his encounter with the farmer. And then he goes straight to Piccolo. They exchange a few words. Piccolo attacks him and does no damage at all. Raditz is about to retaliate, but the Scouter picks up Goku's power. Okay, so at this point, Piccolo is basically shitting himself over Raditz. And then it cuts to Bulma arriving at Roshi's home. And then we have a classic pervy Roshi asking for Bulma to show him her breasts. Which, oh my god. Like, I love scenes like that. Obviously there isn't as much as that. There isn't as much of that in Dragon Ball Z. And obviously Kai, because in Dragon Ball, when they did Dragon Ball, there wasn't as much censorship. So it was like easier to do that and get away with it, essentially. Okay. So then Goku arrives with Gohan, and they ask who the kid is. So Krillin, Bulma, and Roshi ask who Gohan is, in which Goku reveals that it is his son, and everyone is shocked because they wouldn't expect Goku to have a kid. They then notice Gohan's tail, and they pretty much asked if he's ever turned into a Great Ape, in which Goku replies no, because they go to bed pretty early, so obviously they are avoiding the moon unintentionally. Goku says that he has found a few of the Dragon Balls, and then he suddenly senses Raditz coming towards the island. Raditz lands, checks Goku's power level with his Scouter, and basically says that he has grown up and that he recognizes him, saying that he looks like his father, which is obviously Bardock. Raditz then states that his mission was to destroy everyone on the planet, and Krillin squares up to him and says that, he's basically threatening Raditz at this point. Raditz actually hits Krillin with his tail, which shocks everyone, and that is pretty much how the episode ends. One thing that I do want to say is that Kai does have blood, okay? Especially if you watch the uncensored versions. That's a big misconception that Kai doesn't actually have blood. It does. Obviously, when you're watching it on like Nicktoons or whatever, it is obviously going to be censored. But overall, the quality of the animation, audio, and just the episode itself are really good. The pacing is good. That obviously is something that you would expect from Kai, because it's cutting out a lot of the filler. But the thing that I really like about it is the quality of the dubbing. Okay, so now if we compare it to Z, it starts very differently. There is no sequence of how Bardock called Frieza out or how Planet Vegeta was destroyed, but instead it starts with the mountains in the background. We get a sequence of a few farmers, and we have the announcer telling us how Goku beat Piccolo, and then it pans over to the Saiyan pod coming towards Earth. The same thing basically happens where Goku then knocks the tree down, and Chi-Chi tells Goku to look for Gohan. And then this is where it gets completely different. Raditz actually arrives at this point Okay, has his encounter with a farmer, and then it switches over to Gohan, lost in the forest, and loses his hat to the saber-toothed tiger. So obviously in Kai they skipped that bit, which means that they actually got rid of a huge bit of filler. I think that whole sequence must have lasted at least 3, maybe 5 minutes. So that's already taken away like a lot of the filler. So then it goes over to Gohan talking to the bird, and Goku has to save him. So that bit's the same. And this is where the episode actually ends. The episode ends with Piccolo versus Raditz. So again, they exchange a few words. Piccolo tries to kill him, but ends with Raditz flying away. And this next bit they actually leave out in Kai. Raditz says that he and Goku are Saiyans, and he says that he remembers the day he sent Goku to Earth. Okay, so that bit isn't actually in Kai. And I'm actually kind of glad that they did leave that out, because it kind of, the way it ended with Kai, with the whole tale, just like kind of leaves you on the edge of your seat, because you're just like, wow, okay, so is someone like Goku, is he part of Goku's race? Instead of just saying, Goku, me and you are Saiyans, you know what I mean? It kind of puts it out there, because they actually have their first encounter like this. So there are actually a few differences between the two, one of them being obviously the way it starts, and the other is the pacing and the removal of filler in Kai. So obviously in Kai, the episode starts with Bardock versus Frieza, the retelling of what happened in Dragon Ball, Raditz going to Earth, Chi-Chi telling Goku to find Gohan, Gohan being saved by Goku, the arrival of Raditz, Piccolo versus Raditz, and then it ends there for Z, and then with Kai it carries on, and everyone arrives at Roshi's place, Raditz arrives, and then the episode ends with everyone in shock because Raditz has a tail. However, in Z, it starts with the farmer sequence and how Goku beat Piccolo, shows Raditz nearing the Earth. The same thing basically happens where Goku knocks down the tree, and obviously Chi-Chi tells Goku to look for Gohan. Raditz actually arrives at this point, and it switches over to Gohan lost in the forest and loses his hat to the saber-toothed tiger. So obviously in Kai did skip that, as I said before. Gohan starts talking to the bird, and Goku has to save him, and the episode ends with Piccolo versus Raditz, okay? So the big thing here is that in Kai, when Raditz actually arrives like on Earth, he goes straight to Piccolo, okay? That's in Kai. But in Z, he arrives like mid-episode, maybe a bit more towards the start, and then it ends with Raditz and Piccolo at the end. Okay, so there's like basically what they did here. They changed like the majority of the start. They changed the pacing, and they did switch a few scenes around. So obviously you had Piccolo, you had Raditz arriving on Earth, and then the encounter of Piccolo, and then it went over to the Master Roshi stuff with Raditz arriving there. Whereas in Z, Raditz actually arrives like mid-episode, a bit before that, and then you have the whole sequence where Gohan loses his hat and is lost in the forest. And then it skips to Goku having to save him, and then the episode ends with Piccolo versus Raditz. So the pacing is very different. So as you can clearly tell, the organisation of some sequences in these episodes are completely different. There's in Kai, they have removed a large piece of filler, which was obviously the saber-toothed tiger, and they mixed a few things around with obviously Raditz arriving on Earth and stuff like that. And they've added for to Kai, because of how much the episode shortened down, because of the removal of the filler, they were actually able to have Raditz arriving at Master Roshi's place and having his first encounter with Goku, which I prefer. So even though there are a few differences between Z and Kai, the large majority of it is definitely the same. The only thing that Kai really got rid of was the saber-tooth tiger filler, and it basically went on to the Master Roshi stuff, whereas Z ended with Piccolo versus Raditz, which is very interesting. But that is it, guys. I do hope you enjoyed it. Obviously there are a few clear differences between the two episodes. The main ones are obviously the pacing and the removal of filler, but apart from that, both episodes were great. I enjoyed both. I do prefer the pacing of Kai at the moment, but yeah, I do hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a like to support the series, and I'll speak to you guys in the next one.